This is my third time recording the audio. I'm about to commit arson on my computer. Woo! Halloween is over, so I guess it's Christmas now. Art style challenge. You have probably seen one of these before, so I'll keep the explanation brief. Basically, the idea is that you take your own character design and then try drawing it in different styles. I only have one human character design of my own, and it's not me, so I'm going to be drawing my cat OC in different styles of drawing cats. Starting out with Realism, which is technically not a style, but I thought it would be a fun one to start with. What usually defines my character is the color of the pelt, the pitch black stripes, white belly, flower, long neck and ears, fluffy tail, fluffy chest, and green eyes. But obviously I wasn't able to maintain all of these throughout the different styles. Like here with Realism, I couldn't make the stripes to be as distinct as they usually are because those just don't occur in nature. I made them a bit lighter to match with the base color of the fur. That's really the only major change I had to make. I'm not sacrificing the flower for any of these styles because that just doesn't feel right. Obviously, I made the eyes smaller and just in general made the proportions a bit more realistic for this one. This drawing is not like completely photorealistic because I'm not that good and I didn't want to spend too long on a single drawing, but it's close enough and I actually really like the end result. Then off to SSS Warrior Cats. If you saw my 100k subs video, you know that SSS Warrior Cats is one of the main things that encouraged me to start animating myself. What defines the SSS Warrior Cat style I think would be the thin outlines, anime eyes and often also emo hair, use of gradients and, surprisingly enough, more shading than these animated styles usually have. These are animated characters, so they're supposed to be fast and easy to draw. I think, judging by the designs of Longtail and Tiger Claw, SSS Warrior Cats would definitely let me keep my black stripes, so that's great. I simplified them just a little bit though, because at the time of drawing this, I couldn't remember any character with a stripe on their back. Now I realize that I completely forgot about the existence of Sandpaw, so that was an unnecessary change. This is not actually the first time that I'm drawing in this style either. I made a bunch of map parts in the past that actually feature the SSS Warrior Cats character designs, but I wasn't trying to completely replicate the style back then, so this is still a new experience for me. I decided to give my character a hair tuft since that is something that many of the characters in SSS Warriors seem to have. This style didn't really give me that much trouble, except that SSS Warriors almost never separate the head from the neck with a line. I would usually use that line as the endpoint for the white chest on my character, but this time I didn't have that privilege, so I decided to make the entire muzzle white instead, and I have to say I am quite happy with the result. The next style I tried was Felidae. For those who don't know, Felidae is like an old German movie, and while I'm not a huge fan of the style, I thought that it would be a fun one to tackle because it has so many features that are different from the other styles I tried. For example, the lack of eyebrows, relatively high saturation, especially in the eyes, and this entirely outlined jaw. Also, weird curved face stripes. I think I must be missing something because a lot of the styles I try draw face stripes like this, and I just think it's difficult and doesn't even look that good. Maybe they have some method of drawing these stripes that makes it easier than drawing normal stripes or something, but I'm not grasping it. This style is also the first time that I had to encounter the fact that a lot of these animated styles just avoid having stripes on characters in general, which is understandable. Stripes can be challenging to keep consistent, so I just took out the stripes on the back altogether. Animated styles usually still allow tail stripes, so I kept them. And I can understand as an animator why they do this, because tail stripes are much easier to draw than stripes anywhere else, and they look nice in my opinion. I'm actually really happy with how this one turned out. She fits right in with the other murder mystery kitties. I was having a good time this far and this style came and stabbed me in the back. The Aristocats was one of my favorite movies when I was little, but coming back to it, I've realized that the style is really not my favorite to watch or to draw, especially to draw. Stripes in this style, they don't exist. I can't have the stripes. And good lord, drawing the face gave me trouble. I think part of the reason of why I was having such a hard time replicating this one might be because the original is drawn traditionally, which gives it this sort of sketchy outline style, which is very charming, but I can't do it because I'm a digital artist. I was just not having a good time. Maybe it's because I'm used to drawing such large eyes, and when I couldn't have them I had trouble conveying any emotion. I don't know. I don't like it. On to the next one. Gee Sweet Home. Apparently not everyone knows what this thing is, so basically it's like this manga about a kitten who loses her mom and then gets rescued by a small family, but dun dun dun, the apartment doesn't allow cats. What will happen to them? Read this manga and find out, or like watch the anime, I don't care, just do it. It's heartwarming, it's what we need in this current global situation. So where the Aristocat style has small eyes, this one has huge ones. I wanted to draw my character a bit like the main character Chi, just because I think the way that she is drawn is such a big part of the style. And because this style isn't animated, it means that I get to have the stripes! Only I ran into the problem that actually my OC stripes are maybe a little bit too cartoony for this style, so I had to make them more complex and again, lighter. I'm not gonna lie, I don't really like how they look. I don't think I nailed the style. The circles gave me trouble by existing. I can't draw a sphere for the life of me, so my drawing ended up looking a bit unpolished. But it was still a really fun style to try. And then we have a 3D style! Namely, the Wii style. I love the Wii. I think it's the best gaming console. Fight me. PlayStation, Xbox, no, Wii is the best. And one of the things I really like is how the cats and the dogs in Wii games have this very distinct look to them. They consist of very simple shapes, yet they're still so cute. Now, if I was really going according to the limits of this style, I would have just had to pick one of the possible fur patterns Wii cats can have, but I'm not doing that because that's boring. I'm doing custom skin, which means that I get to have all my stripes, because why wouldn't I? It's a 3D model. Nobody's gonna have to draw the stripes, frame by frame. Woo! Honestly, this is probably the favorite drawing that came out of this challenge. It's adorable! And trying to shade these simple shapes to form a cat was actually super fun. I would recommend it as like maybe a little learning exercise if you want to practice shading. The next style I tried was the Warriors comic art style. More specifically, the one that's featured in the Grey Stripe arc. So it's not the Shasha and Tiger Star comic art style that I talked about earlier. Yeah, this style I actually really like. I don't think it's something that I would like my style to become, but it's, in my opinion, the best one out of the Warriors manga styles. And I get to keep the stripes again! In fact, I think these very dark stripes are on brand for this style, because they could be drawn with ink. I didn't really have to make any major changes to the design itself, except, you know, toning down the long neck, long ears thingy, because this style just isn't quite as cartoony as mine. That is a small sacrifice to make. I also desaturated the colors just a bit, because this style just doesn't seem to do a lot of brightly saturated colors. But yeah, I think I was able to stick to this style fairly well. Last but not least, we have the Studio Ghibli style. And this one gave me trouble again. And again, it's mainly because of the stripes. God damn it. I decided to do not one but two different styles for this one, because the references I had pulled up were for two different movies, Kiki's Delivery Service and The Cat Returns. And I realized that these two styles were actually very different from one another. The cats in Kiki's delivery service don't really take that big of a role, which is probably why they're drawn in this very simple style. They're side characters. Which then also means that I don't get to have stripes. And I also don't get to have the white belly because all of the cats in this movie are just one color. No fur patterns for me! So that's a bit devastating. As for the Cat Returns art style, I do get to have some stripes. But they're not allowed to be black, and I don't get to have the white belly still. You may also notice that I had to make changes to the colors I used, because both of these movies have sort of these very distinct color palettes that I just don't think would allow my characters saturated colors, so... no black! Only this weird cream yellow and very light green. Woo! I really like the Ghibli art style, but it's definitely one of those styles that look way more impressive animated than as a still image. So that's all the styles I tried. I can think of a couple more that I could do, so I mean, if you would like to see me do this again, I'd be thrilled to. And if you have any suggestions for other art styles I could try, feel free to leave them in the comments below. Huge thanks to my big tier Patreon supporters, Put Me On Fire, FlarinaFairy, Pixie Art5 and ChipDip, and my small tier Patreon supporters, Borkenstar, Brianna Perry, HollaceDay and Siskinfall. Your support means the world to me. Thank you so much for watching.